What's up, people? Ismail here from Pacific Home. I'm recording this video for this new series I wanted to launch. I had an idea for a little while to communicate a series that communicates, I guess, design more directly to the audience and kind of communicates it visually. Where I can have conversations or go in depth about either things I've just made or stuff that's just cool to me, or have like friends or other designers come on and just have conversations about shit that's cool or shit that we think is cool. And just kind of go more in depth, because I feel like it's different ways people connect with Pacific Home. There is obviously the cats that just connect with Pacific Home on the level of you like photographs, and there's cats that connect with Pacific Home on the level of liking graphic design specifically and just that. And then there's people who like music, and then they're connecting on the level of Ibis Radio, and it goes here and there. But I think when I think about the bullseye kind of person that I'm thinking of when I'm creating stuff for Pacific Home is somebody who is just a nerd about design in general and just how things are put together in general. You know, like people who are just passionate about how things are put together. And I feel like this series is for those kind of people that are kind of just nerdy about design, you know, and just want to go more in depth and understand things more, understand where the ideas come from, you know, and just hear, if you like the design, you want to hear more about the process essentially. And I think that's what this series is for. And on some of these videos I'll have friends on, like I said. I'll have other people who I think have something interesting to say, and we can go in depth about whether it's stuff we've made or things we're interested in at the moment, or whatever feels natural to talk about. But on this episode, or I don't know what to call this. Is this an episode? I don't know what to call it. On this thing, what we're talking about this time for the first series is the, I don't know if I can you guys see this? The technical itch print. This is weird because it's flipped when I'm looking at it, so I don't know if you guys will see it not flipped or whatever. But yeah, we're talking about this guy today. I love this design a lot. I think it's probably my favorite thing I've made ever. At least up until this point, my favorite thing that I've created. This thing going on right here. This is the Technical Itch logo. There's the Sonic Bird logo right here, and then the Ibis Radio logo, which is Ibis from Sonic Bird on the decks. But this is for Technical Itch episodes. This is the Technical Itch logo, and I love this shit so much. I love the way this guy looks. You know, the shape of his body and all the little details on, from his headband. I think that's a bandana, to his to the t-shirt, to the way the t-shirt falls on his body, to the interaction between all the little spaces here and here. I just think it's cool. And then even this interaction with the text and the decks, the shape of the deck, the font of the text, how playful it is, but at the same time clearly very technical. Now I think is sick. And then this R, the reserved logo, which I just think is so cool, like using that as an element of design, because it's obviously a very functional corporate, I guess, marker. But using it as an element of design, I think is so cool. And I'll talk about where I got the idea to use it from or how I decided to do it. But yeah, no, it's really cool. I just love this. The whole print is beautiful, but we're talking specifically about this guy. And I think I'll start from where the composition came from. I think the first thing that inspired this was in the episode I've spoken about how Steven from Omnis has shown me the Mowax logo, which was designed by, I don't want to fuck up the name, which was designed by Ian Swifty. The original logo, just the I'll put it, I think I'll put it here. Where my hand is, the logo will appear, but the original logo was designed by Ian Swift. And I just love the way that the like the text logo, the way that the letters interacted. One, it just felt so raw. Like obviously graffiti print is always very raw. It's kind of in the nature of the style. But I feel like the way the texts interacted with one another, I just thought was so cool, and how bold and strong and playful it was, but at the same time kind of sinister in the way it looks. And then obviously the different iterations of it, where there's all the lines going around it and everything. I just think it's cool. I think it's a very cool logo. And I was like, I knew at the time when Steven had showed me that I wanted to do something with that logo and have something with other people doing tracks for Ibis Radio when I was still coming up with the idea. So when Technical Itch came about, as spoken about in the episode, if you haven't listened to the episode, go listen to the episode so you can understand what I'm talking about, and then come back. And yeah, you understand what I'm talking about at that point. But yeah, no, like when the name came about, it was like, oh, like I immediately saw this kind of interaction where it's like letters are stacked on top of one another, but the way that it's placed would mirror the Mowax. Obviously, it's not the same. If you've seen the logo I just showed, it's very different from what this is, but it would mirror the Mowax logo in a way where it's like, you know, the top, bottom, the kind of off-kilter placement of the letters. And I just found this font. I didn't make the font or anything. I found the font, but I think I'll check what letters exactly it was. I think it might have been the X and the M. Mowax logo. Yeah, the X, the way the X kind of goes underneath the text. I wanted to have like elements of each text going into the other, and I found this font and it was so perfect. I didn't make it, you know, I found it, but it just fit perfectly. It just had like obviously the graffiti style and looked very like technical with all the little like lines and very subtle nuances and everything, but then also the interjecting of each letter to the others. I think that was the thing that did it most for me with this one. And yeah, just finding that, I knew I was going to use that font initially, and I had that stocked. And then coming up with this guy. So with this guy, initially when I was coming up with the logo, I knew I wanted to have a character DJing, but I didn't know how I wanted to place him, because I was like, if I put him straight in front of me, it would be, you wouldn't be able to see the details of the decks, and I think seeing the details of the decks was very important to the design. And then I was like, okay, if I put him on like a kind of like an angle like that, if I put him in an angle like that, it would create like a different dimension to the design. That's like, if it's straight or from the top, it's a flat design, and I like that because it's 2D. It doesn't allude to more dimensions around. But with the logo being, with the character being that way, it kind of, you have to, in my mind as a designer, I have to balance out the dimensions with the other elements in the design. So I was like, I think what I'm gonna do, I wanted to have him flat, but I didn't know how. And then on one day, I think I was on Tumblr, and I had the intention of finding this design. I think I opened Tumblr, and the first thing I see is this Japanese print. And on the radio episode, I say it was cat spinning pots, but I found out it's not. they're not spinning pots. What they actually were doing is it's a print of swimmers um and like a life raft. I'll find the exact name for it. Swimmers and Lifesaver Viewed from Above by Nakazawa Hiromitsu. That's the name of the print, and it's just cool. I'll put it up here. You see it, but when I first saw it, I thought it was people spinning records. Like the first thing that came to my mind was these guys, because they look like they're interacting with sound waves. So I was like, these people spinning records, and it was the first thing that came to my mind. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna use. And just the angle helped it answer that question of having a fucking 2D shape, because it's from there. So I knew I was gonna do that. I just wanted to find how I would use that feeling that I got, because obviously I wouldn't do the exact same thing. I love the fact that there were multiple people, because it more embodied the energy of, what technical it should be, where it's other people, and not just one person but multiple people. So I like that. But I knew in the design I was just gonna use one person. So I picked the character I was drawn to the most, which was the cat with the bandana on his head. And I also really love the stripes. The guy with the red hair and red stripes on his shirt. I thought that was so cool. I think I'll probably make a version of this in the future with the striped shirt, because that shit was so sick to me. But yeah, no, I used the guy with the bandana. I was like, yeah, I'll just give him all the other elements and create, the feeling of the kind of person I think he is. Doesn't have a name yet, but probably something will come in the future. But yeah, kind of person I think he is, which then came about his like body structure, the way his body looks, and the way the clothes fit on him, and even the positioning of his hands. It kind of creates the same feeling of what kind of person I think this is. He's like old head. That's how I see him. Kind of like just an old head DJ, like a Goldie or a fucking Dillinger. Just old head like jungle drum and bass DJs, and kind of had that physique to me, like more loose and free. And then I knew I wanted the decks to kind of reflect that curvy nature that the other print had. The other print had the curvy, the curves that were going on it. I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought I was gonna have like a movement like that, but I couldn't do that because then it didn't look natural. I don't know, I couldn't do that, but I knew I wanted it to curve. So instead of doing something like this, I took that up and it kind of became like that, and I was like, okay, yeah, this feels more natural, like it could work. I wanted the whole deck to be very curvy, but it didn't make sense for this character because it felt like he was interacting with something that wasn't natural for some reason. So yeah, having the straight lines around here was for that reason, because I wanted to see how far I could push the shape of what a deck would look like. I'm not thinking functionally as much, even though I would love to explore this design in the future with an actual deck. See if this could work functionally, because I don't think this placement is too far away. Figure that out. But yeah, no, I knew for that functionally it makes sense, but even the way it felt, it makes more sense for it to be straight. So I kept that curve, so it creates that, the curve of the original inspiration. And then I had the line inside. I wanted to have a bit more, but I felt like a bit too much was going on. And then I had the line inside and everything. It was pretty cool. Kind of added to that flow elements of like the waveforms I thought I'd originally seen from the first print. And then having these just these little things. Honestly, I just went crazy. I was like, whatever makes sense. Feels like it makes sense. I wasn't thinking of, I know I would have to have the knob in the middle here and for the cues here, but besides that, I just put knobs and buttons to just create the feeling. Obviously used a few decks as inspiration, but mainly just to create the feeling. Uh, yeah, no, and then having one be larger than the other was just to balance out this increase in space. But it ended up adding like a dynamism to that and into the whole print in general. And then adding that to kind of use up the space as well. A lot of things were more for filling up space, but also to look as practical as they could be. I assume this would be, I don't even know. I don't know. If you ask me on an actual deck, what would this be? I have no idea. I don't know what that would be, but we'll see in the future what would make sense for such a faraway placement. It would have to be like a master control of something. I don't know what that would be. But yeah, no, this guy could come to existence. This came to existence. I already knew this. So coming up with the interaction, I think I tried it on this side and everything, but I felt that with this way I could balance out because I knew I wanted the Ibis radio to be on the left for the print. So I was like, with this way, it kind of balances out like that in a way. And then putting the R, this came about. I had this Bape sweater I got in from Omnis like a long time ago, in like 2018 or 2017, with the Bape head. It was a beige sweater with a off black Bape head, and all it had was the Reserve logo on the edge. So it's just the Bape head and the logo. And I love that sweater so much because it was so simple. Like the idea of just having the logo with the Reserve, it's like that kind of underlies. When I look at designs, I really like when designs have a very complete feeling. So it feels very complete. It feels like there's a full context for what you're looking at. And I feel like with the Reserve logo here, it gives a context that this is a logo, and it's gives like a very, it almost puts it in a suit. That's how I feel. It's like it like gives a more official feeling, which I just think is cool for something so playful to have something that kind of, it's like wearing sweatpants and derby shoes. That's that's what comes to my mind, like sweatpants and derby shoes. It just kind of balances out the energies in a way. Yeah, and that whole image came about, and then just playing around with the sizes to make it all match and make it all make sense, and the placements. But yeah, no, it came about. I think it's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite graphics or illustrations I've created so far. And it also, I just love how it looks on the tee because it's so like off, like it's so like asymmetrical and like heavy to one side, which I think is so cool because it creates this like lopsided, lopsided swag. Like the swag is not properly balanced. It's like tilted to the side, which I think is sick. Like and it really brings your attention to it. Things are very symmetrical. I think because it's so balanced and inoffensive, you don't think about it. But when it's asymmetrical, because it's so like, it's the brain, the mind, and the eye kind of thinks there's like something isn't right here. Like there's something not right going on, and brings your attention to it a bit more. So I think the asymmetry in this kind of brings your attention to it. And yeah, and it just came about in that way, and I think it looks so sick on the tee because it really brings your attention. But the elements play with each other in a way that's so like not it's not like it's so, it interacts in such a natural and organic way, but it's so dynamic, but it comes together in such a whole. It feels like everything was just made to fit in this way, so it feels very minimal even when there's so much going on, which yeah, I just love the design. People, when I showed people, the first thing people were like, "Oh, there's a face. I see the face. That's what you did there was sick." And like, only I think when I showed my friend Danielle, and she was like, "Oh, the face, the robot face," and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, I didn't even when she said that, then I started thinking, "Oh shit, there's a face." I didn't even think about it initially, but yeah, also obviously that adds to the element, the technical itch element, like a crazy technical robot geeking, you know. But no, I think it's cool. It wasn't intentional, but yeah, it came about and it makes sense, the teeth, the eyes, the crazy face. No, it's cool. It's a cool print. Uh, cool print, cool poster, cool tee. If you haven't listened to the Technical Itch episode, episode 1, Ibis Radio, you should. Don't lack, you should listen to that. And if you haven't copped the print, you haven't copped the tee, you should as well. Go cop the tee, go cop the print, go listen to the episode. And if you have anything to say, I'll probably be in the comments talking. I feel like these are the conversations I love to have. And if anybody who's watching this up until this point, you're probably like me, so you like having these conversations too. So yeah, if you have something to say, thoughts to share, whether you can contact me personally or in the comments, whatever, I'd love to talk. But yeah, no, deuces. Hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, see ya.